Hello everyone and welcome to the last game we'll be showing from the tiebreaks of the quarterfinals of the FIDE World Cup 2019, and definitely the most interesting game. It's Yangyi versus Nikita Vitiugov, and this is the Armageddon game. So two of the classical games they played have been drawn, then two rapid games have been drawn, then Yangyi won the second rapid game, the one with the shorter time format, then Vitiugov equalized by winning his game, and then they went into the Blitz section. Both of the Blitz game have been drawn, and now we have the Armageddon. Yangyi has 5 minutes with the white pieces, whereas Vitiugov has 4 minutes with the black pieces, but he, is satisfied with a draw. So if this game is drawn, Vitiugov goes into the semifinals to face Ding Liren. Without further ado, let's just check it out, and this is just, you'll see what I mean by it. We do have a photo, there it is, again, compliments of the official photographer, Kirill Merkuryev. There you have it. Still, we have yet to see a photo where there's actual eye contact between the players, but I'm sure there's a good reason to this. Maybe if someone studies, human behavior, maybe you can shed some light onto this, but if not, we can just enjoy the photo. So there you have it. Without further ado, let's check out the game. Yangyi opens with e4. With e6, the French defense, and now f4, already very interesting from the start, the Labourdonnais variation, with d5 by black, and now e5, advancing the pawn, with c5, as you always want to play c5, mostly in the French defense, and knight to f3. We have knight to c6, and now c3, maybe preparing d4 at some point, with knight to h6, now preparing to bring this knight over to f5. White goes knight to a3, the knight is coming to c2 to further prepare the d4 thrust, and now knight to f5 with knight to c2. And here this position has been reached many times. For example, Magnus Carlsen had it with the white pieces both against Grishuk in the Norway Blitz Championship. He won that game, and also against Richard Rapport in the St. Louis Blitz Championship. Carlsen also won that game. The difference is Grishuk played bishop to e7, whereas Rapport went for the knight exchange with the knight to h4. But here we have d4 by Vitiugov. It's not a new move, it's just a different line. Bishop to d3, going after the knight on f5, and now knight to h4, now not allowing this capture. And here there is one game where castles was played, which makes sense. Your g2 pawn is under attack, you don't want to just give it up. Or do you? Because here, instead of castles, Yangyi played bishop to e4, and it's really... it really doesn't make sense. It's as if this line, this beautiful line of giving up all these pawns is specifically made how to play an Armageddon game where you absolutely must win. I haven't checked the interview after the game whether this is a blunder of 2 pawns on the king side, or is this just giving up pawns for some super activity, but it's just amazing. So the g2 pawn is free for grabs, and of course Vitiugov captures it with knight captures on g2 with check, king to f2, and now knight captures on f4, so grabbing both of the pawns. Now there are lines of the king's gambit, for example, where you first gambit the f pawn, then you gambit the g pawn, he captures, then you even allow g captures on h2, but white will always have always have a lot of development and a lot of play for those sacrifice pawns. But here it's really just weird. But okay, d3, white continues development like nothing happened. The knight is under attack, and Vitiugov brings it back. We have knight to g6, and here c captures on d4. We have c captures on d4, and now bishop to g5. Continuing development like nothing happened, attacking the black queen. We have bishop to e7, and now even trading material, being down material. Bishop captures on e7 with queen captures on e7, and now knight captures on d4, regaining some material. Knight captures on e5, black grabs a pawn, with knight captures, and now queen to h5, preventing castles, as if castles then queen to h7 will be checkmate. So knight to d7, preparing knight to f6 to kick away the queen and also guard the h7 pawn. With rook h to g1, now preparing to capture on g7, and here best for black is g6. It really just gets rid of any threats along this diagonal, gets rid of the queen. If queen h6, then you get queen to f6 check, and then you continue development with e5, the knight develops, you can bring the bishop into the game, and so on. But here, knight to f6 right away, by Vitiugov attacking the queen, guarding his h7 pawn. We have queen to e5 now. Again, the g7 pawn is under attack, and now we have knight captures on e4 with check. D captures on e4, and now f6 first, kicking away the queen. And queen to h5 check, inviting black to further weaken his king side or to offer a queen trade. Of course, Vitiugov is very satisfied with a queen trade as he's up material, so he offers a queen trade. But, of course, Yangyi declines. We have queen to c5 now, again preventing the castles. And here, queen to e7. Vitiugov again offers a queen trade, but this is a bad offer of a queen trade because it allows capture and rook captures on g7. Better offer of a queen trade was queen to f8, while still keeping an eye on the g7 pawn. Here, if the queens are traded, then the king also defends the g7 pawn. And if queen c7, then you go queen b4, also threatening the b2 pawn, threatening the knight here with check. The queen can infiltrate with a queen to d2 if needed. But okay, Vitiugov played queen to e7. We have to remember, it's a blitz game. Queen captures on e7 with check, king captures, and now rook captures on g7. We have king to f8 and now rook 8 to g1. And black is still up a pawn, but white's double the rooks along the g file, and the active knight more than compensate, as black still has all of these undeveloped pieces. How are you going to get the rooks into the game, and how are you getting the bishop into the game? We have e5 first, freeing this diagonal for the bishop, but now knight to b5. Preparing knight to c7, followed by knight to d5, and then the knight wants to come to f6, which will completely immobilize the black king. And here, what you want to play is a rook to b8. You don't bother yourself with the a7 pawn. If white captures it, then you activate your rook. It's not a problem. And you don't allow knight c7 to come with tempo. So basically what you're doing here is you're waiting for the knight to move so you can play b5, develop your rook this way, and then you're going to play h5 and hopefully develop your other rook this way. But in the game, a6 was played, and this allows white to move the knight with tempo. We have knight to c7, attacking the rook, rook to b8, and now knight to d5, going after f6. We have f5, not allowing knight to capture on f6, and now knight to f6. And here you can see that the black king can no longer move anywhere. We have f captures on e4, but now comes rook to c7 with the deadly threat. The threat now, as the king can't move anywhere, is just rook to g7, followed by rook to f7 checkmate. So black starts developing. We have bishop to f5, preparing to meet rook g7 with bishop g6 to keep an eye on the f7 square. We have rook g to g7, and now bishop back to g6, now preventing the rook f7 mate. And now rook g to d7. Again, black doesn't really have anything to do. White now wants to push h4, h5, push away the bishop, and then, of course, just win the game. So b5, black is hoping to somehow develop the rook, but for the moment it's impossible, as you would just get mated. It's not an option. With h4, white continues with his plan of h5, and black prevents it with h5, but now that you've played h5, your bishop is no longer defended. So just rook to g7. And what do you do with the bishop? Again, if you move it, then rook f7 is checkmate. If you don't move it, you're going to lose it. So what can you do? Well, bishop to e8 comes to mind, but it's not a good idea. If bishop to e8, then white is completely winning. Even feel free to pause the video and try to find the winning idea for white, as you might be able to use it in some of your own games. While I give you a couple of seconds, for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations, you are an excellent mater in 2. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it's actually rook g8 check. Sort of a mini smothered mate. Rook captures, and now knight to h7 is checkmate. The rook covers the entire 7th rank, and the black's own pieces prevented the black king from going anywhere. Quite a nice idea. And you should know it, for example, if you get this position in a blitz game, so you don't have to waste time looking for it. But okay, we have rook to c8. Now hoping for this trade, rook captures and king captures, where black would definitely be okay. But here, white just trades down into a favorable endgame, into a much more favorable endgame with rook g8 check. So the king cannot capture, the rook has to capture, and only now does white capture on c8. We have rook captures on c8 with check, king f7, and the knight now picks up the rook, and here white is up a full rook. King to e7, and now king to e3. Just black can easily resign here, but you came so far in the World Cup, you will play a few more moves. King to d7, attacking the rook, rook a8. We have bishop to f5, and now rook captures on a6, and it was in this position that Nikita Vitiugov resigned the game. And after an intense battle of, this is like, they played like 2 classicals, 4 rapids, 2 blitzes, and this is 9. So it took 9 games for Yangyi to eliminate Nikita Vitiugov, but in the end he was able to do it. So yeah, really just amazing stuff, and I've never seen this. I don't know if it was a blunder or it was an elaborate design for an Armageddon game, but whatever it is, I really enjoyed it. Like, giving up those 2 pawns was really amazing. So yeah, that's it. Vitiugov is out, and Yangyi advances to face Ding Liren in the semifinals of the FIDE World Cup 2019, whereas MVL will face Timur Rajabov. And I believe MVL said during an interview that so far all of the games he played against Rajabov ended in a draw, but it's a different story in the case of Ding Liren versus Yangyi. In their matchup, Ding Liren won 6 games, Yangyi won 0, and 15 games were drawn. So Ding definitely a huge favorite when it comes to classical chess, but we'll see what happens here. It seems like Ding is a huge favorite, regardless of who is on the other side of the board, but you know, it's chess, anything can happen. So yeah, that's the game. I do hope you enjoyed it, at least you know, half as how much I enjoyed it as I really enjoyed it. I would like to thank Samuel Kumuli, Pratamesh Mahajan, Carson Kent, Agadmator's dog, and Gil Troitsa for a contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the semifinals of the FIDE World Cup, checking up on your suggestions, and well, and so on. So thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.